Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. May the peace and blessings of Allah be upon you all. Welcome to Islam and Pop. This is where I discuss things in popular culture, be it songs, books, or just trends of thought. And I will look at them from what I think or what I consider to be the Islamic point of view. This is, of course, just my views alone. You don't have to agree with it. That's fine with me. But I hope that in the course of this series on Islam and pop, you will also find some things that are useful, that are hopefully also enlightening for you, and you would continue to watch this series of talks or sharing on Islam and pop, inshallah. So for today, the first part of this Islam and pop, we're going to take a look at a Pink Floyd song, Another Brick in the Wall. And this is from the Pink Floyd album, The Wall, which I believe was released in about 1979. I remember I was about 16 years old, perhaps. Now I'm at a ripe old age of 58, but it's a long time ago. This song was something that I enjoyed listening to, partly because of the beat, the singing, the chanting that goes on in the background by the school children choir, and also because of the lead guitar by David Gilmour. But today, of course, as I listen to the song, and you can listen to the song to the link below, right? To the link below, you can listen to the song. I'll put a link there, inshallah. So you can listen to the song and listen to the words. And today I tend to listen more to the words of the song and what it means for me as a Muslim. For this video on looking at education through another brick in the wall, I will be dividing this video into two parts. So I will post the first part first, and then after that, will follow up with the second part. Otherwise, it will be too long. Okay, now you've heard the song. It's got a nice beat, very catchy, and that was why it made the top of the charts. I believe in different countries all over the world, including the US and the UK. So this song is basically about talking about schooling. But of course, when it didn't say the word schooling, it uses the word education. We don't need no education. And this is because I think very often today in this contemporary world of ours, especially with the modern secularistic uh, system, you do not make much of a distinction between schooling and education. In fact, we do not make much of a distinction between schooling, education, and training. So this is a pretty much unclear. Of course, there are people, educationists, educators, or even thinkers who talk about what is education and so on. Usually for the general layman and even those who are involved in the actual running of schools, teaching in schools and so on, they are actually pretty unclear about what education is and what schooling is and what's the difference between the two of them. So in short, what I'm saying is schooling is today very much identified with education. Now, just for a thought, right? If that is true, then you can think about all other kinds of schools, all right, where immediately what comes to our mind is that it is not education. To take an extreme example, just think of a dog training school or driving school. Those things are not involved at all with what we normally, even for those who are laymen, would consider as education. That is more closer or more akin to what is the activities are more akin to what is known as training. Okay, so then what is training? Well, I looked it up on Wikipedia, and I got this definition there. Training is teaching or developing in oneself or others any skills and knowledge or fitness that relate to specific useful competencies. So note that it's for useful competencies. And in today's world, when we talk about useful competencies, you're talking about things that are useful, especially for you to go about your life in this world. And this usually translate into what you do as for your job, for your occupation, for you to earn living. Okay, so to continue from Wikipedia, training has specific goals of improving one's capability, capacity, productivity, and performance. So it is for this purpose. Okay, it is to improve our capability, capacity, productivity, and performance. And these again are things which are familiar for those of us who are in the working world, all right, who have to usually be made answerable to KPIs and so on. So we go for training so that we can actually improve our KPIs and our capacity, our productivity to help the company grow, make more money, be more efficient, and at the same time also maybe to give us a chance for us to move up the career ladder. Continue again from Wikipedia. It forms the core of apprenticeships and provides the backbone of content at institutes of technology, also known as technical colleges or polytechnics. In addition to the basic training required for a trade, occupation, or profession, training may continue beyond initial competence to maintain, upgrade, and update skills throughout working life. There you are again. The emphasis is still about improving your capacity, your chances for career advancement, and so on. And this is all related to the working life. In other words, it's about the economics of things. People within some professions and occupations may refer to this sort of training as professional development. So that's a nice fancy name for training. Training also refers to the development of physical fitness related to a specific competence such as sport, martial arts, military applications, and some other occupations. So it involves a lot of it is involving of skills, capability, capacity, productivity, and performance. Right? So that is training. So if you like training, to put it simply, training is very much skill oriented for a particular job or occupation or some other activity, such for example as in sports. Training, in other words, it's meant to be used, it is actually designed today mainly to make us men into a useful piece of the economic system. After all, the economic system, the modern ones today, see men as just a human resource, right? So it's a human resource, just like other resources, like the natural resources and so on. So we are a human resource which helps to actually keep the economic system going, and this is especially true since the Industrial Revolution, and this came about, and with this came about the rise of industrialization, and with industrialization and you see the rise of systematic organization of the factors of production, which includes the human resource. So this is what happened in today in our economic system, which is largely the result of the industrialization process on a large scale. That you have things being arranged in such a way, it is organized in such a way so that everything is done efficiently, right? And the role of schools is actually basically today, it is seen as the feeder, if you like, of human resources to this economic system. All right. So schools, the emphasis today, you just look at the subjects, all right, and the trends in the emphasis in what is considered important in the schools, then it is seen to be very much tied to what is needed by the economy. And efficiency is key here. And you think about efficiency, you tend to think of the industrial system. For example, you think of Henry Ford's assembly line arrangement for the building of cars, manufacturing of cars. All right, and that is the if you like, the archetypical example of efficiency in the industrial world today, right? And today it is of course been made to improve further. It is improved further, and you see the use of robots and so on. But it's still basically it is like an assembly line, and the goal is efficiency. And the efficiency is done through administration, all right? And administration itself, according to the French philosopher Jacques Ellul in his book, The Technological Society, is actually a technology. And we use this technology called administration basically to standardize things. Okay, why is standardization important? Because standardization is basically to anticipate all problems in processes, produce possible solutions. So time is not wasted to try figure out how to do or solve things only when it happens. So you sort of preempt all possible problems that may arise. You think of the most efficient way of doing things so that everything is economically efficient and things run smoothly. And you cannot fit in anything else which is outside of this efficient administrative system. So everything must be thought through beforehand, not when it occurs. When it occurs, and then you start thinking about something, what to do next, how to resolve the problem, then that is not efficient. And the whole purpose of standardization is actually to make things efficient. And this is a hallmark actually of the Industrial Revolution. So Pink Floyd's Another Brick in the Wall, if you had watched the video, you'll see images of that kind of system also being done in the schools, right? Where students are passed on, all students, sorry, are pushed through one system, all right, and they all go to the same kind of school basically, and then they will be made to pass through, the different stages of the assembly line from primary one or grade one to grade two or primary two, depending on which country you're in, and so forth. Okay, then from grade school you go to from elementary school you go to grade high school and so on, and eventually to the university. So this is actually a conveyor belt process. And if you do not meet the standards at each particular point in the stages of production, then you are shunned aside or even rejected. Okay. So this is how the schools have actually become a duplicate of the assembly line system that is found in the factories or the manufacturing plants of the world today. So this system doesn't allow for many variations. You have to fit into what is the objective for the system. And if you do not fit in, you are just rejected or pushed aside. So what it makes is then everybody will come out from this system more or less in conformity with the objectives of what that system has been designed for. So in other words, you become almost like a robot. So, and when we talk about efficiency, then we are usually talking about administrative efficiency, even for schools. It is not so much educational efficiency. Efficiency is not looked at from the point of view of education, or if you like, even of learning. It is actually looked at from the point of view of how well do you administer the system, how well it functions. So when you talk about efficiency, right, for learning or education, if you like, then they come up with this thing called schools. To be fair, not all schools are like this, but I'm talking about the modern schools today. So the modern schools today basically is just usually consists, well, of a building, if you like, or institution, if you like, where the curriculum is fixed. The subjects are fixed, the curriculum is fixed, the assessment is fixed, the way things are to be taught are more or less fixed, because that will be tied to also how the assessment is done. Okay, the way the assessment is done is also pretty much fixed. There's no such thing as individualized assessment of learning, but a mass assessment of learning, because that's easier, right? And a lot of it is written exams because it's easier also to mark, right? And the teachers also go through, right, a more or less a very similar kind of training. And all this is done in such a way that it is to meet the goals of that system. And that is an efficient so-called education or learning system. So for schools today, before any student, whether a child or an adult, the moment you step in, you already know how, what, and why you are learning something, and when you are going to go through the assessment, and when and how you'll be regarded as qualified or you have learned, right? All these things are set about in a way in advance before you actually step in into the institution or into the school. And this is where I've said earlier, all right, that when you go through such a system, it tends to produce a certain specific kind of student or product, if you like, for the economic system. And that product is basically what it means is that you have been programmed to work for that system. As I said earlier, also, in other words, you've become a robot. With that, I'll end the first part here because I think otherwise it'll be too long. So inshallah, I will continue with the second part and I'll post this one up on the channel. And I hope you'll find it useful and interesting. So again, as usual, do uh, like it, do sign up, do subscribe to this channel, right? So you'll be alerted to future videos that are released here. So I look forward to seeing you again soon, inshallah.